time. But I just wanted to welcome those who are on right now and welcome those who are about to join. A couple of months ago, I was thinking, I was just sitting there and I thought, I see so much professional development for childcare providers and around supporting the mental health and the needs of children and families. And I thought, that's great. And we all need that. But at the same time, what about our childcare providers and what about our teachers? And I felt like our childcare providers and teachers need some support with their mental health because the stress that our childcare providers are navigating right now around just their business and taking care of children and families during this crazy time of COVID. I really wanted to do something to help support you all. So I reached out to our friend Corey Serber, who a lot of you met a few weeks ago when we talked to her around some supports that she had to offer. And she introduced us to Miriam Hunter, who is with St. Al's and is a licensed clinical professional counselor, and asked if she could share some resources and support to our teachers and childcare providers around how to take care of yourselves, because the more that you take care of yourselves, the better that you're able to provide care and support for our children and families. So Miriam was so graciously accepted our offer to join us and talk to us a little bit around some supports and resources that you can talk to us about so that our teachers and childcare providers can take care of themselves, because we're only as good as the health of ourselves. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miriam, and she'll be able to share some resources and supports for us. And I'm going to turn off my camera so that we can focus really on Miriam. So welcome, and thank you so much again for being here with us.
Thank you, Beth. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here tonight, and I want to thank the AEYC for having me. And I want to say, as a mother of a preschooler, I am so grateful for early educators and childcare providers and just everything that you all are doing. I'm so indebted to my daughter's teacher and school at large. So I just wanted to share that. And I'm excited to be able to share about self-care. This is such an important topic. I realize some of you might be coming in and out and joining late, and that's okay. Just feel free to make yourself at home and get comfortable. If there are any technical issues, Johnny will be helping me out tonight. We'll try our best to assist in any way. If you have questions, you can just let me know, chime in, raise your hand. You can unmute whenever you need to. And I will do my best to respond. And I want to thank Johnny in advance. I'm not an expert on Zoom or Zoom presentations, so I really appreciate your assistance. And yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and dive in on our way to self-care here. Next slide, please. Johnny, are you able to go to the next slide?
I think he's pulling it up right now.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I thought I'd pull it up. Share. Can you see it?
Perfect. Yeah, you're good. Okay, so what are we doing here tonight? We are going to define the process of self-care with the goal of identifying an individualized approach that's both balanced and sustainable. What do I mean by that? I want to help you get a better grasp of what self-care is and how you can apply it in your life to really maximize it. So how are we going to do that? Next slide, please. Okay, so I have 4 areas of focus that will empower you to make better decisions about your self-care. We are going to be defining self-care, looking at our triggers, Evaluating different self-care methods, including guided meditation. I wanted to be able to do a guided meditation as a group to try that out and see if that appeals to you. And finally, we will be looking at developing a plan. Next slide. All right, so I really would love to open up the conversation here. I know that we're all in this together, and whatever opinion you have adds a lot of value to our time here. And I was hoping to hear from some of you. If anyone would like to share what comes to mind when you think of self-care. Or would anyone like to share how you're doing self-care right now? Doing nothing and not feeling guilty. Okay, yes, I like that. That's a great one. Yeah, I know for me, myself personally, self-care is challenging to make happen. It's something I think a lot about and don't often make the time for it. So I appreciate the comment. I also wondered what the biggest barriers are for you all. I know they can be really varied. So we can get into those a little bit here. All right, next slide, please. Oh, guilt. Yes, I can appreciate that being a barrier for sure. Okay, so if you were to Google self-care, this is what you would find. The practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So what does that mean to us? Well, self-care can really be anything that brings us happiness and enhances our well-being. So what isn't self-care then? Is eating 3 bars of chocolate still self-care? It may be, but it's not very balanced or sustainable. Someone asked me the other day if taking a shower qualified for self-care, and I definitely believe it can be. I think it depends on your focus or your reason. For example, if it's just like one more thing on your to-do list and it's just like 3 minutes in and out, that may not feel really relaxing. But if it's something longer and more enjoyable where you feel like you got a little bit of a break, that could be self-care. Next slide, please. I'm just going to check out these comments. Yeah, thinking I should do it all on my own. That can be really tough because we really have to advocate for self-care, especially as childcare providers, educators, without having a lot of time or resources on our own. So I appreciate the comments. Okay, so thriving versus surviving. So as I mentioned, some self-care does involve our basic needs, like showering. I think like this list is what comes to mind for a lot of people when they think of self-care, but it's so much broader than just getting a good night's sleep or taking a walk. Don't just stop there. Those are great things, but think about other activities that could qualify that you may or may not already be doing. Next slide, please. So you may want to check in with yourself. It can be helpful at times to just take an inventory and think about, like, when did you last consciously apply self-care? An example of this would be, let's say you noticed you're feeling stressed at work, and instead of continuing with that feeling, you decide to take a 5-minute break. You get up, you take some deep breaths, maybe you walk outside, maybe you have a quick conversation with someone, get a drink of water. You're intentional, you're conscious about knowing you need to kind of step away for a moment. Some other questions are, when was the last time you felt present? Or when was the last time you felt relaxed? By asking yourself those questions, usually you could link that to self-care, because to get to that state, likely you're doing something self-care related to result in feeling present or relaxed.
Are we able to move to the next slide? There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, so this is a important slide to consider. Be mindful of your triggers, and as silly as it might sound, really listen to your body. Are you feeling irritable? You might need some self-care. Do you feel like you have nothing to give? Do you feel like you're on autopilot? Do you find yourself just mindlessly eating? Do you feel like you can't catch your breath? Have you just experienced something unforeseen or super stressful? Triggers for self-care don't all have to be negative. For example, let's say you got a promotion at your job. This could be a great thing, but it may be something that still needs to be digested, and it might call for some like time away to kind of consider that and think through that instead of just kind of diving into the next thing. Next slide, please. Okay, so self-care methods. Like we established earlier, self-care can be almost anything that fits our needs or our preferences, and there are different ways to implement it. So these are some that I thought were worth mentioning. Self-care can be reactive or as needed, PRN. So an example of that would be, let's say you get home from work, you've had a stressful day, and you ask your partner for 10 minutes to allow yourself to get changed, kind of have a breather before you just dive into just like the evening grind, making dinner, time with the kids, if that's what your family looks like, or with your other responsibilities. That could be one example. Proactive self-care, I think, is one that we more readily think of in terms of maybe exercise. Let's say somebody would like to run a marathon, and they sign up for it, they set aside training days, and they're proactive in making that type of self-care happen. Another example, maybe that's not so hardcore, would be like a monthly girls' night out. Therapy is definitely another form of self-care. I mean, it's not like going to the spa for a day, but it's self-care nonetheless. A lot of people wonder if they should go to therapy. And I would say if you're being intentional about self-care and you don't see that that's really pushing the needle at all, if you're still feeling like your moods are not what they want to be, or are struggling or needing more support, then I would say it might be a good time to seek out therapy, to call a therapist. Guided meditation. Now, I said a little bit about this in the beginning. This is a form of self-care that I think can be intimidating. And frankly, even with all the apps out there, it doesn't always seem very accessible. So I thought we would try one tonight. There are too many benefits for me not to include meditation in this talk. It can help us be less reactive when we are dealing with stressful situations. It can be both reactive and proactive. You know, we can consciously take a few deep breaths in the moment, and that can help us in the moment, and it can also help us later just by taking that time for ourselves. It can also improve our focus, our memory. So I think it's something to be considered for sure. Next slide, please. Okay, so I chose a guided meditation from a site called mindful.org, and I came across this site when I was preparing for this talk. I found this one, it's on setting intentions for the new year, and I know it's a little bit into January now, but I don't think it's ever too late. So I thought we could try this out together. And I was going to say you can turn off your camera, but it looks like everyone is, for the most part, off of this. And I may do the same just to um, kind of go into this intent or this meditation with a little bit more intention. So I welcome you to get comfortable and to kind of just experience this together as a group, and let's see how. Thank you for choosing Marriott Hotel. We would like to inform you. So if you would like to start that link, Johnny, or I should start it on my end. A complimentary stay. For further details, press 1 now.
Hold on.
On a do not call list, press 2 now.
Can I ask you guys to maybe mute yourselves a little bit, so that we can hear Miriam? Thank you. Okay, Johnny, you're starting the link?
Yeah, I just need to click off this. Allow. The 10-minute guided practice to discover your intentions, is that the link?
Yes.
Okay.
This practice brought to you by Mindful, helping millions of readers and listeners find peace, build focus, tame anxiety, and build a future based on kindness and compassion. Join us at mindful.org/newsletter.
While many of us take stock at the end of the year and maybe set resolutions or make new plans for the upcoming year, that sense of letting go of what we've become caught up in, the habits that we've been living through, is actually part of our everyday mindfulness practice too. Each time we sit for a few minutes is an opportunity to let go of wherever our minds and attention and awareness have gotten caught up, and to come back and realign ourselves with whatever we decide our best intentions are or our best effort is for that moment. It might be a sense of bringing full awareness and attention to our experience, to the people around us, to a conversation, to our children. It might be a sense of letting go of reactivity and coming back to resolve, more patience and clarity of sight. It might be balancing the tendency most of us have to get caught up in times of stress and seeking out balance by giving more attention and awareness to gratefulness, to positive moments, to things we enjoy. And it might be a sense of wanting to bring more kindness and compassion to how we treat ourselves or how we treat others, or even how we treat the people we find difficult in our lives. And all of that can be cultivated and sustained and developed through any amount of time we spend in our mindfulness practice. So finding yourself a comfortable posture right now, dropping your gaze or shutting your eyes. Noticing the physical movement your body makes with each breath. You might be noticing on your belly or your chest, or perhaps in the air, moving in and out of your nose and mouth. as you start the practice today, checking in with your effort and intention so you'd like to bring to the practice today. To settle, gather your attention. Perhaps with a sense of resolve and strength, a sense of gratitude. Time to give yourself some compassion for your struggles, or maybe to offer that to somebody else. And of course, the intention just to come to the practice at all might be absolutely perfect for this moment, not adding to any of this any sense of stress or strain. So in an unforced way, or as a reminder that you need to make yourself feel anything that you feel. Beginning to bring that sense of attention and awareness to your practice. And one way to do that can be in each in-breath, developing a sense of open awareness. This is my experience, without denying anything, without pushing anything away, without ignoring the positive aspects of it. This is all of my experience right now. And with each out-breath, perhaps coming up with a word or two that capture your intentions for yourself. So breathing in with awareness, and then each out-breath, feel strong at any means. Maybe picturing something you're grateful for. Whatever feels appropriate to you right now. And if you must have to practice, and it gets caught up in distraction, reactivity, some sense of discomfort, that's normal. That's only part of the practice too. Coming back now, doing the same practice. In with awareness. And out with your intentions for this moment. Noticing if there's a sense of frustration, self-criticism, judgment. Maybe it seems as if we haven't done it that way. In our practice in life, we do such with our intentions. And we can come back again. whatever we're facing in life, all we directly influence is how we choose to relate to it. Reactivity and anger so often lead to just more reactivity and anger. So we can get caught up in self-criticism, caught up in criticism of others, or through our mindfulness practice, we can develop a more balanced sense of awareness and preciseness, clarity. In any moment, we can catch ourselves and realign ourselves with our best intentions, patience, recognizing that we may lose touch again, and coming back again when we do. So as this challenging year comes to an end, wishing you all well. Otherwise, as the practice ends, pausing for a moment, with intention, choosing when to move on with your day.
Not sure how well all of you heard that. There was a little bit of feedback on the audio on my end of things, so I apologize if that wasn't the easiest guided meditation to take part in. I wanted to ask if any of you practice any type of meditation, if you had any thoughts about it, or if there's anything that you all wanted to share or ask about um, around meditation. Yes, lots of good intentions. Thanks for sharing, Beth. All right. Yeah, this is very challenging. So I'm right there with you trying to figure out how to do this. I can appreciate that. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so last but not least, if you want to be more intentional about self-care, I think it's helpful to make a plan. I think it's important to take a step back and ask yourself, what is going well self-care wise? What are the things you're already doing that you'd like to continue? What can you build off of? It's a good idea to start small, to continue the things that are going well and just be more intentional about them. It can be wise to make it realistic and doable. For example, if you enjoy yoga, maybe sign up for one class a week. It doesn't even have to be once a week, but again, whatever is doable for you. You could bundle your self-care. And by that, I mean, you could take a walk with a friend. So you could be intentional about getting some exercise, some fresh air, maybe some vitamin D, but then also get that time to like connect and catch up with someone. Or you could do an activity with a family member that you really enjoy spending time with. So maybe you're getting in something novel or a lighthearted activity where you can kind of get your mind off of just like the day-to-day stress, and get that time of connecting and feeling supported. Um, be mindful of your self-talk. Now, I could probably do a whole talk on self-talk, and I really wanted to include the snippet in here. As I was preparing for this talk tonight, I was talking with an old friend of mine, and she had said that I should make sure to talk about self-talk. And she said that she wished she'd had known about it years ago. And I think it really informs our self-care. So much of the time, um, our own self-talk can be like our biggest source of support or the thing that derails us the quickest. Maybe we're telling ourselves no to self-care. I know someone had mentioned guilt because they felt like they shouldn't do it all on their own. So that can be part of it. Um, Feeling like, our house is a mess, or we're not enough, or we don't have the time, or it's too cold, or we don't have the money, and the list goes on and on. Um, Feeling like we should be doing other things. Um, I really want to encourage you to be mindful of what you're saying to yourself, and like the information that you're consuming, um, as far as like social media and otherwise that can kind of derail some of that. So I think that that's really important to be mindful of. Um, Most of all, be kind to yourself. If you don't get to that class, that yoga class, for example, that you signed up for, give yourself grace. You can always do it tomorrow. Um, know that this is not something that has to happen overnight in terms of like having the best self care out there. Um, it's a work in progress. So let's look at the next slide, please. I wanted to let you know about some resources here that that were brought to my attention rather in preparing for this talk tonight. So I touched on mindful.org a little bit earlier. That's where the guided meditation came from. It has a lot of great articles on mindfulness and meditation. So if that's of interest to you, I would say definitely check that site out. Insight Timer. Now, this is an app that I just learned about. Had never heard of it. And again, so many apps out there. This one was appealing to me because it's free for starters, and there are over 70,000 different guided meditations that are not only for adults, but ones that are also for kids, which is pretty neat. Again, if that's something that is of interest to you, check it out. Next slide, please. And then lastly, I wanted to share with you a resource that's specific to St. Alphonsus. It's called the Social Care Hub. And this was created to provide support, local support, for things such as food, transportation, housing, utility assistance. And the cool thing about this is it's open to all of you, as well as to the parents and families of the children that you work with. So you can pass along this resource to them. And it's also some information about it is available in Spanish. So I wanted to make you all aware of that as well. So I would love to have any more conversation, questions, comments about this topic, whatever you would like to share. I know we have a little time here.
I really want to thank you for, if nothing else, this is a good reminder of, for all of us, whether we are serving children and families or other work that we're doing, is really just to be mindful of taking care of ourselves and taking a break and giving ourselves permission to just take a breath for a minute, right? Our early childhood educators, they are working 12 plus hours a day, taking care of others and spending all of their energy taking care of others. And it is really, really important to, for all of you on this call, just like I said, to take a break and look within yourself and do whatever you can. If it's 5 minutes a day, just give yourself permission to take a breath and to say, what about me? Should, I read a comment earlier about someone saying, well, I feel guilty if I'm taking care of myself, or, taking a break for myself, and just giving yourself that permission to say, you know what, that's okay, because I can't care for these children, and I can't care for the families that I'm serving without first taking care of myself. And that might sound selfish and that might sound guilty, but at the end of the day, we can't take care of others unless we're taking care of ourselves. So if nothing else comes of this, I ask that you all give yourself permission to take a step back, take a breather, and look inward before you're able to look outward. So I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And I know I'm super guilty of it too, right? Like I have all these great intentions of, I'm gonna, exercise, I'm gonna eat better, I'm gonna, do all this stuff, and we get wrapped up in everything, and we're all in this, and so it's just first of the year. We've got a new year. We had a really hard year last year, and any minute or any 5 minutes that you can just kind of step back and say, it's okay. Like we're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna get through this, and take a break and focus on yourself. That's okay, and it's really important that we do this.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. I couldn't agree more. And like you can think of it as like micro self-care, like seconds, minutes, whatever you can grab. And I really appreciated the person who said that they were doing nothing. That is absolutely self-care. Again, it can be virtually anything. I think we all know when it becomes something else. But yeah, that permission that you mentioned, that's key. Just being able to do that, knowing you may feel some guilt, but also knowing you're modeling to your kids or other people in your life that it's important. Again, like you said, it starts with ourselves to be able to take that time. So yeah.
Anyone have anything that they want to share, or questions that they have for Miriam, and specific, like working all the time and dealing with the stress of everything that we've all had to deal with, but you all in particular, is there anything that you'd like to share, or questions that you have to ask? And you don't have to. If you'd rather ask it in the chat, that's fine too.
I'm looking at the
I want to see what this says.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the online comments, and I wanted to comment on the person who, Lori, about I have an online group I meet with on Mondays, and it makes my week as wonderful as it can be. Yeah, I bet that does truly help. That's awesome. Just to have like regular support that's scheduled, that's huge. I mean, it's great if it's spontaneous too, or more as needed, but that's wonderful. 12 minutes a day, Tiffany wrote, twice a day. I use my drive time to focus on me, whether it can be cranking the music, getting a hot cocoa, or just have quiet. That time is what helps keep me together day to day. Yeah, I think time in the car is maybe this like undervalued gem. I know for myself, I try to listen to as many podcasts. I have a really short commute, which in some ways is great, but I actually don't get to like have that prized alone time. So yeah, again, making use of what you have. And if it's that drive in the car, that's perfect. That's great.
I have a quick comment, Miriam. So I've always heard my wife does meditation, and I've always had trouble focusing and like being present. And she's always told me like it takes practice to like get yourself there. And do you have tips for like maybe getting people more comfortable with it if they don't like get it right off the bat?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, because even for me, like it was sort of a refresher getting prepared for this, and I feel sort of like a renewed interest in trying it for myself. I have done it from time to time. It's something my husband does. He does it. He started it, I think, about 3 minutes and then went to 5 minutes. He's used Insight Timer actually. But I would say, like, even if you can start, like, there are 1 minute meditations out there, if you can start really small. And also, it might sound kind of silly, but just embracing like the discomfort of it, and knowing like that's about your self-talk, knowing like I'm not going to love this moment, but it's only going to be, 90 seconds or whatever it's going to be, and just see. And I would also say, like, you don't have to push it. It doesn't have to be for you. And that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, even though there are all these great reasons to do it, and in preparing for this, it made me want to kind of try to re-engage. It doesn't mean it has to be for you. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be this thing that becomes a regular part of your self-care, but maybe kind of a one-off that you do here and there. I know for me with meditation, I really enjoyed it as part of a yoga class where I was hearing someone else's voice, and that was a lot easier for me than just trying to kind of meditate solely like by myself.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I think it is hard when you're just by yourself and you think, okay, I'm going to take a breather for 3 minutes today. And your mind is racing. You're like, oh, I have to do this and this and this and this, and I got to get this done, right? It's just one more thing that you have to do. But I like the idea of just starting with 1 minute and just literally breathing in and out for 1 minute. Start there.
Yeah. It sounds so basic, and it also sounds so easy, but it's not, because again, there are a million distractions. I mean, just all these things, pulling our attention away. So just again, like being mindful of that going into it. Like, this is probably not going to be easy for me, but again, it's going to be a short period of time, and I'm going to, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to try something new.
Right. And again, I think at the end of the day, the purpose of tonight is just a reminder to everyone on this call, just to give yourself permission to care for yourselves. If it's a minute a day, 5 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, which can be kind of overwhelming sometimes, just allow yourself that time so that you can have a good mindset and be healthy. And there's a lot of negative things happening in our world right now, and being able to focus just on something positive for a minute a day makes all the difference in the world. And for you all who are caring for children and families, I think that also makes a world of difference too. I know that when I get stressed out, it impacts my family. And so being able to take a deep breath and focus on something positive or something good really helps my relationship with my coworkers and my family and whatnot.
Yeah, I would say I didn't add this into the talk, and I could have as far as a method, but you touched on it, Beth, which I'm grateful you did. Just like the practice of gratitude. Like, one question I really like is to ask yourself, what went well today? And like, you could take that and expand on it, or it could be like, I'm going to just pick one thing, because let's say I had a really crappy day. I'm going to have to dig really deep. Like, I'm breathing right now, or, the sun was shining. I had a great cup of coffee, however small it might be. But on, obviously on good days, that can be a lot easier, but it can be a way of refocusing, of being in the present moment, of being mindful. And especially in a pandemic, in a time when things are like politically so charged, the climate we're in, shifting that, just being willing to have that shift in your mindset, just to say, like, and sometimes it really might be a minute before you can identify something that went well, but just to be able to practice that can also be a really helpful form of self-care.
Mm-hmm. And I love Ken's comments that he has over here is just, how shifting his mindset into something positive really helped for him, which I love.
Yeah.
So I hope that you all are looking at the comments, because I think that those are all very good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, tapping into your spiritual community, your faith,
yeah.
again, so many different ways to do self-care, but that can be really helpful. And another way of kind of checking out of the chaos and feeling more connected to your belief system and to yourself. So thank you for those comments.
That's good. Well, thank you, Miriam, for your time today and helping us. We had a small group tonight, but I hope that this was a good reminder for everyone. Just making sure that you're caring for yourselves and taking care of yourselves, because it is important, especially during these insanely crazy times that we're experiencing. Just real quickly, before we move on, I did hear, or I read today that COVID vaccines will be available to teachers and including childcare providers beginning tomorrow. I will say I don't know what that looks like. I don't have any answers in regards to where you go or what you do. I did make a couple of phone calls today before knowing that we were going to have this call tonight. I encourage you to call your doctor if you have a doctor, or your health district. I'm not sure that anyone is going to have any answers in regards to where to go or how to sign up or things like that. The good news is that childcare providers were included in the K through 12. We really fought hard for that, to make sure that childcare providers were included in that phase, or that priority group. And I read today that beginning tomorrow, K through 12 teachers and childcare providers will are in this next phase. So I encourage you to call your doctor, your health district. We will work as soon as we get more information. We will be sure to shoot that out to you all. Like I said, I've made a couple calls today. Haven't gotten any concrete answers, but I'm hoping that in the next couple of days we'll be able to figure something out and get some information to you all, because I think it is going to be important for you all to have access to the vaccine. So,
Beth, can I just say that I did get a call or an email from my provider, my healthcare advisor or provider, that said that if people brought in their childcare license or a letter from their workplace that they're working at a childcare center, that they would give them the immunization, and that you should just go to your regular provider and just ask for it.
Thank you so much, Lori, for that information.
You
Good.
got it.
Good. So if anyone needs any help navigating that, let us know. Lori, did your physician call you, or did you reach out to them?
I actually received an email. It was from Seltzer. Yeah, that just said that they were available for teachers, pre-K and up. And if you're in that category, to give them a call or come in. And then it was actually one of the other teachers that called and found out that they just needed to bring their Boise City childcare license or some proof of employment. And a lot of the person she talked to said, if you just come in and say, this is where I work, that they're doing a lot of honor system stuff. So I don't even know how formal it needs to be, but it was in an emaemail that it's available.
Well, thinking outside of Boise as well, because we do have folks, we're statewide. So thinking through that, again, I'll try to get some more information. And does anyone know if there will be a fee for these? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. They didn't sound like there would be.
I don't think so. But again, those are questions that we will find out as soon as we can and let everyone know. But sounds to me like, Lori, I'm so glad that your provider reached out to you. That's fantastic.
I know. Isn't that
That's
great?
amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know that if you're a nanny, if that would fall under that provision of childcare provider?
I don't know, but I would imagine. But I don't know how strict the policies are or anything. But I can find that out as well.
My mom is doing that right now. So I was just curious. I know she's like chomping at the bit. She's older. She wants to get that done. But it's not like it's a very like formal, operation that she's working under.
Yeah, well, it sounds to me like Lori said, if the employer just writes a note to the doctor,
Mhm.
write
Yep.
notes to the doctor for each other. I know Ken Price, and he qualifies.
Exactly.
I want to note too. I'm not in any priority group, so but hoping that you all will get that. So we'll find out as much as we can right now. But if nothing else, tomorrow call your doctor, call your provider, call the health district, and let's hound them and see if we can get you guys vaccines as soon as we possibly can. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just want to let everyone know I will be sending along the resources that Miriam provided in her PowerPoint to everyone, and also make a recording of this available as well for those of you who have staff who were able to attend. So I'll be sending that out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, I think we will sign off, and sorry that my husband's washing dishes right now, and that's loud, but thank you to all, as always, for everything that you do. Please take time to take a moment to breathe and care for yourselves. And thanks for everything that you're doing for our children and families. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Miriam, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Miriam.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.